In this video, we'll walk through the process of setting up your workstation with Unity. Our objectives will be to download the Unity Hub, set up your Unity account, and install the Unity editor so we're ready to start using Unity to develop games. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is open up our web browser and direct it to unity.com. I've got the website up here. This is the home page for Unity. We'll use this site from time to time to access various resources and get in touch with the Unity community. They have some great learning tutorials and so forth, and we'll talk more about these later. But for now, we're going to download Unity. So at the top right, there is a Get Started option in blue. I'm going to go ahead and pick that. This brings us to a page that talks about how to get Unity and the different Unity plans and costs. Most of the versions of Unity are essentially the same in terms of the software, but there is a difference in terms of the cost and what additional services come with the license. In this course, you want to select the Individual tab, and this will show the Student and Personal edition of Unity. Both are free, and both are more than sufficient for learning and developing games as a student, hobbyist, or indie developer. The student version requires a bit of additional verification to prove that you're a student. You may want to go through this at some point, but for now and for purposes of example, I'll go ahead and get the Personal edition. So let me go ahead and click Get Started under Personal. And the web page that comes up prompts me to download the Unity Hub. At the top, it's asking me to download the beta version. If you scroll down here, you can see, there's the Unity Hub version 3 beta here. I'm going to go ahead and download the non-beta version of the software just so we're on a stable version. Now, of course, this is at time of recording. By the time you watch this in the future, Unity Hub version 3 may be out. But let me go ahead and download the Windows version of the non-beta Unity Hub. If you're on a Mac, of course, download the Mac version. So let me go ahead and click this and go through the process of installing Unity Hub. I'm going to go ahead and open that now. This is the setup for Unity Hub. And I'm going to say, yes, I want to allow it to modify my device because it's installing the software. I'm going to agree to the license agreement, and I can specify where it's going to install it on my device, on my hard drive. I'm just going to go with the default here and click Install. And while it's doing this, I'm going to minimize my browser window in the background, and the installation is complete. You can see it installed the hub as a shortcut on my desktop here. And when I click Finish, if you leave this as checked, it's going to go ahead and launch the Unity Hub. Now, when the Unity Hub first comes up, you'll see a message where it says you have no valid license. And it's asking me to click the Manage License button. Let me go ahead and do that. And then it says you need to be logged in to manage your license. Now, to use Unity and Unity Hub, you need to have a Unity ID. So there is a login button right here or up at the top, this little icon that looks kind of like a silhouette of a person. You can also click that and click Sign In. And this will prompt me to log in with my Unity ID, and if you don't have a Unity ID yet, which I suspect most of you don't, you can go ahead and click Create One. And this will bring up a form where you fill in your email and password and so forth. Just go ahead and follow that process. It doesn't cost any money to create a Unity ID, but you will need one for purposes of using Unity. So go through that process. Of course, I've already got a Unity ID, so I'm going to go ahead and log in with my ID. Okay, the next thing that you'll need to do is activate a new license. So let me go ahead and click on the Activate New License button. It's going to ask what type of license you want. You'll want a Unity personal license, and then you have to specify that you qualify for a personal license. So either your company or organization earns less than $100,000 a year, or you're not using Unity in a professional capacity. So as a student, I would probably pick I don't use Unity in a professional capacity. I'm going to actually pick the top option because I do use it in a professional capacity. And go ahead and click Done. This should give you a license for Unity, which will show up here under the license option. And once you have that, you should be able to install Unity. So let me back out of the preferences and go to the installs section. So you can see here under installs, it says no Unity version. For this course, I want to make sure everyone uses the same version of Unity so you'll be in sync with my lessons and with each other. Check the course website for what version of Unity we're currently using in the course. For purposes of the example in this video, I'm going to go ahead and click Add, and you'll see that there is a recommended release of Unity specified here, and then there's additional official releases. And you can see Unity kind of comes out on a yearly pattern. So there's a 2022 version, a 2020 version, a 2019, 2018, and so forth. Now the LTS means long-term support version, which basically means it is a solid piece of software that they're supporting over a period of time. You can view it as kind of the official release, where the non-LTS version is one that's still sort of in development. It's kind of like an enhanced beta, if you will. So at the time of this recording, you can see there is not a long-term support version of Unity 2021 yet available. I want to make sure that we're working on a solid version of Unity. So we're going to use Unity 2020 long-term support in this class. Now, the version that shows for me is Unity 2020.3.25. At the time that you're actually doing this version may change because Unity actually comes out with new versions on an almost bi-weekly basis. If you ever want to download a different version than what's shown here in the Add Unity version window, you can click this Download Archive link here, and this will bring up the web browser to the Download Archive section of their website, and you can see that there are tabs for each version of Unity all the way back to Unity 3. And then they, after Unity 5, they switched to this sort of yearly pattern. So there's a 2017, a 2018, 2019, 2020. And if I go on 2020, you can see there's all the different versions of Unity 2020, over time and when it was released and so forth. So if I would want to download a previous version of Unity or one that's not specified there in the Unity Hub, I can come here and then click the Unity Hub button here, and that will start the process of downloading that version of Unity. Now, the reason you would want to download a different version of Unity is, for example, if you built a project today and then in 5 years you came back and you're on a new computer, but you wanted to open up your old project, you may want to download the version of Unity that you built that project upon, because when the software gets updated, there's new features and maybe old things break and so forth. So anyways, that's the Unity Download Archive. We're not going to actually use that today, so I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that, but I did want to show that. So back here in the Unity Hub under Add Unity Version, I'm going to select the latest version of Unity 2020. So for you, it may be here under Recommended Release, or it may be down under Official Release. So Unity 2020 LTS. Let me select that and click Next. Then it's going to ask what modules I want to include in my install of Unity. So you definitely want to check the Microsoft Visual Studio option. That is your editor for editing code, editing scripts. If you're a programmer already and have Visual Studio installed, maybe the full version of Visual Studio, you could uncheck that if it's checked. But this is the community version of Visual Studio, available for both Windows and Mac. It's the free version of Visual Studio from Microsoft. Now, the other modules that you install are what platforms you want to be able to build for out of Unity. What platforms you want to target. So you can see there's the mobile platforms, Android, iOS. There's PC platforms like Linux, Mac, and Windows. There's also WebGL, which is a web platform. So what you want to check is what I have checked. So you want to check the Mac build support, WebGL build support, and Windows build support. Those are the three platforms that we'll be building to in this class. Now, if in the future you want to build for mobile or something like that, you could always add those modules later. But we'll skip that for now because it does take up hard drive space to install them, and it takes longer to download and actually do the install. The last thing down here is documentation. I do recommend checking that and downloading the documentation so it's local on your hard drive. Of course, if you've got limited space, you could uncheck that and you could just access it off the web. There's also language packs if you wanted to grab one. I'm not going to check any of the language packs. And let me go ahead and click next. I have to agree to the licensing agreement for Visual Studio and then click done. And this will ask me if I want to actually install it. I'm going to say yes. And then it's going to go through the process of installing that version of Unity for me. Now, this process might take quite a bit of time depending on the speed of your internet connection and the speed of your computer to actually download all the files and extract them and run the install. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward my video here until my installation is complete. Okay, my Unity Hub is now installed. Using Unity Hub, you can actually have multiple versions of Unity installed and manage them from within the hub. For example, I can click the Add button to add another version of Unity, or I can click the Locate button to locate a version of Unity that's already installed on my drive, but not yet added to the Unity Hub. Why would you want to have multiple versions of Unity, you might ask? If you have a project that is started in one version of Unity, you may not want to update it to a newer version of Unity, as doing so may break things that you'll need to fix. Therefore, for learning purposes in this course, I recommend sticking with the version of Unity that I specified for this course's projects. If you start a project on your own at some point, you may want to install a different, perhaps newer versions of Unity. From the Unity Hub, you can access all the versions of Unity that you've got installed on your hard drive. Okay, I now have Unity installed, and I'm ready to start developing games.